Welcome to Kerbalism. I'm your host, Aubrey Goodman. In this episode, we build our first ship in space using resources collected from asteroids. Building things in space isn't much different from building on the planet's surface. The laws of physics are the same everywhere we've been, and delta V calculations rely purely on thrust, mass, and fuel. The main reason we build in space instead of on the planet is the cost of sending things into orbit. Every craft we build must use a minimum delta V to launch into orbit. This means we need exponentially larger launch vehicles for larger payloads. If we build in orbit, we only need to build the payload. This means our spacecraft designs can now focus on optimizing for mission requirements. It also means we are no longer constrained by the aerodynamic environment. With the exception of surface landers or gas giant surveyors, our designs need not take drag forces into consideration, since they will always be in space. First, let's look at one of our most important vehicles, the ore tug. This craft will ferry ore between the asteroid harvester and an orbital construction platform. It will need enough fuel reserves to perform the transfer orbital maneuvers required to move between the harvester and construction platforms. It needs to account for a full ore storage tank in one direction and an empty tank in the other. This way, we don't over-design and bring more fuel than we need. Next, let's consider the construction platform itself. The platform is assembled in space, just like the other stations. We launch various components in phases, starting with a core and adding empty storage containers and fuel tanks. Since we will be building things using raw materials, we will need containers for those materials. The size of our containers will be the limiting factor, preventing us from building beyond a maximum mass. We need the materials on hand to build our craft. With our fully operational station, we can begin to ferry ore from the asteroid. Here we use some KSP add-ons to approximate the logistics of manufacturing. Ore is processed into metal and fuel. Metal is subsequently processed into rocket parts, which we can use to assemble our spacecraft. After we have processed and prepared our resources, we begin construction of our first spacecraft. We're going to build onto our existing station first to expand its existing capabilities before we start building other things as well. Then we'll build a construction core with all of the capabilities of our orbital platform. In our next episode, we land our construction core on Minmus and use it to begin building other components. Thanks for watching Kerbalism.